Welcome to another video from Gweilo 60. Today we're going to be talking about Canadians going abroad to China to teach in China. Well, is this a good idea or is this a bad idea? Well, let me tell you. Okay, like a couple days ago I was doing a video, I put out a video about the equipment I use to make my YouTube videos. And I made a reference to Prozzy. He's a Canadian guy from Eastern Canada that, well, you probably all know him if you watch Chinese vlogs. I was talking about how Prozzy uses his camera up like this without a tripod, and he responded to, obviously he was watching my video, he responded, he says, he dishing me for my tripodless videos, and I'm poor. And that got me to thinking, and you know, the idea that a Canadian abroad is poor? No, that can't be. Teachers in China make way more than the Chinese teachers doing the same job. But think about this. Okay, so if you're poor now, you're going to be poor later. Why is this? Well, I'll get to it in a minute. Oh, and sorry for bugging you about your videos, Prozzy. Your videos are actually pretty good. I enjoy them and I watch all of them. It's my hobby. Anyway, but I can't help but bust your balls because you're an Eastern Canadian. I'm a Western Canadian. You know, keep your stick on the ice. Only in Western Canada do we keep our stick on. Is that wine? Oh, I'm in BC. BC wine country. Anyway, I'd like to do a video with you, Prozzy, one of these days too. You know, just sort of east versus west. Anyway, so I start to get off on these little tantrums. Anyway, so it got me to thinking, Canadians going to China to teach, is this a good idea or is this a bad idea? Well, if you're young, if you're younger and you're only going to do it for 2 or 3 years, well, yeah, it's probably a good idea. You get that adventurous streak out of you. You get to see the world. You get to see a lot of the world in Southeast Asia, because you get into China. There's so many places that are close to China, and it's really cheap to travel there. So that's a good thing. You're making enough to live a fairly good life over there. You know, most teachers in China make anywhere between 10 and 15,000 RMB a month. Not a lot compared to what Canadian teachers make in Canada, but in China it's more than enough to live off of. Plus the university or the high school or the institute, let's call them, that hires you will furnish you with an apartment. You know, sometimes they'll pay vacation pay. Sometimes they'll let you eat for free in the cafeterias. So your expenses are minimal when you're over there. Okay, well that's good. But what about later? What about when you're getting older and you haven't put anything towards an old age pension? What happens if you've not paid into any of your CPP? And we'll get into the time requirements for old age security in Canada in a minute, but not right now. So you're over there, you're having an adventure, and things are going great for you, and then you get caught into the Chinese trap. And I call it the Chinese trap because I've seen so many Canadian teachers and other teachers from England, from the States, from South Africa, to mostly English, well, all English-speaking countries, get caught into the Chinese trap. So you got out of high school at 18 and you bummed around for a little bit, then you went to university and you got your teaching degree. And you're 25 years old and you've tried a couple of teaching jobs in Canada and they just haven't worked out for you. You're not happy there. You want more adventure. You don't want to be sitting there teaching a bunch of grade 4 kids anything. So you say, well, I'm going to go teach in China. 25 years old, you hit China and you say, oh, and I'm talking about the guys here. There's lots of girls that go teaching there in China too, but mostly guys. It's dominated by guys. Anyway, so you get over to China and you're teaching in a university and you meet the love of your life. Damn. Okay, so as always, you get married, and now you're in China teaching, and you're married to a Chinese girl. Cool. Chinese girls want to live in their own homes. Now you got to buy a house. So you go buy an apartment, not a house, because in China everybody lives in apartments and whatever. Then you have a baby. Okay, now you got your wife, you got the baby, and you got the home, and you're basically trapped in China now. It's either that or you've got to start the immigration process, and it's long and tough. I've made a video about this. Okay, so by the time all this transpires, now you're into your early 30s, and you've got 7 years in Canada, and the rest of the time is in China after your 18th birthday. You see, that's where the old age security thing comes in. To get old age security in Canada, you have to spend 40 years in Canada between the age of 18 and 67. If you spend less than 40 years in Canada, and I'm talking a resident of Canada for tax purposes, so you've got to spend 183 days every year in Canada to be a resident of Canada for tax purposes. If you're not, they take that year away from you, so it doesn't go against your old age security. So you've got to get 40 years in Canada from 18 to 67, and any time you spend less than 183 days in Canada, boom, that doesn't count. And if you only spend 20 years in Canada between the age of 18 and 67, well, then you only get half of your old age security. So that's a benefit that the Canadian government gives all Canadians, but you have to have residency during that time period. Another thing, when you get out of school and you go to work as a teacher in Canada, every month you pay into your Canada pension plan. And your employer pays 1.4 times more than you do into your Canada pension plan, and this is another pension that you get as a Canadian citizen. You pay for it. The government takes stuff from, but that's another story. Anyway, so you're paying into your Canada pension plan, and you're putting time in for your old age security. In China, you're not getting any pension from your Chinese employer. You get the benefits that are on your contract, and that's it. So when you get older, you don't have any of that. See, maybe that's the total integration of a Canadian expat into the Chinese society is getting married, having a child, buying a home, not getting a pension in the Chinese world, and having the child be responsible for you when you're in old age, just as it is for a regular Chinese person. I don't know. It's something to think about. So when you're a young Canadian person deciding to go to China to teach, you should think about all of this stuff too, and maybe think that maybe this is good for 2, 3, 5 years, but like I got a buddy named Charlie over in Nanning. He's taught mostly in South Korea and now a lot in China. Well, 59 years old, he's got no CPP. He hasn't spent any time in Canada, well, a little bit of time in Canada when he was younger, but he might have 15 years in Canada from the time he's 18 to the time he's 59. So he better get busy and get some more time in Canada, or his old age security is going to be pooched. Not only that, but when you're 60 years old, now you're unemployable as a teacher in China because they have an age cutoff of 60 years old. So if you're a foreigner, I'm not sure whether it deals with Chinese teachers, like Chinese national teachers, but if you're a foreigner teaching in China, once you're 60 years old, they don't want you anymore. So you can go now. So you've got to think about these things. When you're teaching in a place like China, as a Canadian, you've got to think of your old age pension. You've got to think of your Canada pension. You've got to think of your time in Canada as getting benefits from the Canadian government when you're older. And when you're a teacher in Canada, you are getting a certain number or certain percentage of your wages put into a pension plan that when you get older, your university, your school will pay you a pension. when you retire. So your pension from your work, your CPP, and your old age security pension. Being an older guy like I am, I think about these things. Younger boys, they don't think about this. Ah, BC wine, gotta love it. Anyway, so after doing this little prosy thing, I thought, oh, a little light went on in my head. I thought, well, if you're poor now, what happens when you get older? And if you spend a lot of time overseas, what happens when you're my age? What do you have to look forward to? Do you have money in the bank? Do you have to keep working? Do you have to come back to Canada and get a job when you're older? Because if you don't have money in the bank, or your CPP or your old age security, no pension from your employer, boy, she's going to be a tough row to hoe when you get older. You know, that's not going to be a good thing. Maybe the plane will go down over the Sea of Japan. I don't know. Make everything better. But just a thought. Anyway, that's what was on my mind today. And BC Wine. If you like this video, as always, like, comment, subscribe, push that share button. And thanks for watching. Bye now.